Hey there. Thanks for joining us for Tales of Misadventure, a podcast all about business blunders. On this podcast, Nicole Donnelly, founder of DMG Digital, talks to entrepreneurs and learns how they turn their lemons into lemonade. DMG Digital is a content marketing agency focused on helping manufacturers attract new buyers through digital self-serve. Nicole Donnelly is a fourth-generation entrepreneur, a girl mom, and an avid traveler. Now, let's head into a tale of misadventure with your host, Nicole Donnelly.
Hey! Oh my gosh! I am so Hi, Liz.
How are you?
I am so good. I'm so happy to be here with you. You are
Likewise.
like the best friend and business partner, and it is like such an honor to have you on my podcast and super fun. I just adore you. So thank you for coming on, Liz. This is great.
Oh, I love being here. You know, when I think about you, it's like sisters from another mister.
Oh, I love
So
that.
great.
I feel the same
so
way.
fun.
Yeah, like kindred spirits, like yin to yang, like you're so great at so many things I'm not great at. And I just love bouncing ideas off of you. And I just think it's just so amazing when you find someone that you just really just mesh with and you can just work so well together and you just who challenges you to be better. And you definitely do that for me. So I'm just like so grateful for you. You inspire me. You've been like such an incredible like shoulder for me to cry on last year when I was going through some really tough decisions, and you were totally there for me during those hard choices. And I look back and I'm like, man, she gave me some great advice, and I am so glad I followed it.
Oh, so awesome.
It was like
it was such a pleasure. Like I felt so honored, you know, when people open up their business and their lives and all of that. It really is an honor. So, and likewise, I've learned so much from you. You are running an amazing business.
Oh,
so congrats on that.
you.
You are doing such good work in the digital marketing space. And obviously I've had a front seat at that with Envision's clients and all of that. So,
oh, well, that means so much to me. You know, I think as entrepreneurs, as business owners, I feel like sometimes you're just figuring it out as you go. Like you're just flying you jump out of the plane and you're building the parachute as you go down, right? So, but isn't it so fun? I just love it. So great.
It is fun. It is so fun. It's so challenging.
It is.
It's kind of like raising teenagers. You know, it's like, is that really happening? Are you really making that decision? Did I really just make that decision? You know,
that makes me nervous because I have a 12-year-old who's turning 13 in June, and she's starting to get there, you know, where she's like spreading her wings a little bit more and, you know, getting her independence. And I'm like, how do I feel about this? You know, am I ready for her to go out? And it's just, and kids these days, the things they know, like things I never knew when I was their age and what they're exposed to.
Oh, I mean, the number of times I say now, should I be mad about that or laugh at that? I'm not sure which one in this situation. So I try to choose laughter and joy.
I love that.
Control and nagging, you know?
I love that so much. It's so positive. That I interviewed someone earlier today and was talking about like, we were talking about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And I was like, what do you think gets you through? And he said, life, I have to remember life is good. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so great. Like having that gratitude, so important. So well, let's kick this off. I want to introduce you, Liz, because you have built an amazing business. And I would love to just talk a little bit about the business that you have built, grown. It's super inspiring as a woman-owned business owner. I want to learn more about your story, and I'm excited to talk about it. So let me just I want to share with the world a little bit about who you are and what you've built, and then we can talk about that a little more.
Perfect.
I want to learn more about the little girl Liz and what her dreams were when she was a girl and how that's being realized today. So anyway, so Liz Beaudry is the principal of Envision, a branding and culture organization that helps companies differentiate themselves in a way that aligns to who they are and their vision, both internally and externally. She also owns MDNA Cloud, a proprietary software that measures an organization's culture. Based on the data, they can help companies identify what makes them unique and build a strong brand culture. And I love this. I've seen it in action with the clients that we've worked on together. And I just think that the service that you offer is such a differentiator from a lot of other branding companies, because you really take the time to go deep and really focus in on the employee experience and the culture and all that goes into that. And that's just such a huge and important thing, I think, with companies today that they really need to tap into, that many are missing the mark on.
Yes.
So, and I love your past experience. You've worked with so many brands, some really large brands, the Muhammad Ali Center, Buick, General Motors Foundation, the Guardian Life Insurance Company. And, but I love that your sweet spot really is working with SMBs that have less than 300 employees. And Liz is also married to an amazing man who happens to be a pilot, which is super cool.
Yes.
And mom to 2 boys born in South Korea. And she loves to travel with her family and spend time on the lake. And I love this mantra. Her mantra is any day can be conquered with a good hat. That is
so
awesome.
true.
I haven't figured that out. What is the key to a good hat, Liz? Tell me. Tell me so I can take that.
I think it's 2 things. It's the fit,
Okay.
does it fit right?
Yep.
And then does it express, your mood for the day?
Yeah.
And what I want to do is normalize hat wearing on Zoom calls, whether you're with clients or,
I like it.
you just bring the hat forward. You don't have to make any comments about how you're feeling or thinking that day. It'll just be described in your hat.
So tell me, what is the funniest message hat that you have? Do you have it there? Can you show it to me? Do you have what is your hat mood today?
Well, that's a great question.
We just got off a really great client call this morning, Liz. What is your
Oh my gosh. It's where was that? Just say no to drugs. I need a hat.
Just say no to drugs and skeptics. Oh my gosh. Yes. I am so here for that. I'm want to put that up on my wall. It's the best.
We could start a hat company.
We could. It would be amazing. Oh man. So let's talk a little bit about I love the hats, but let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about how I understand you purchased Envision. So I would love to hear, let's start from the beginning. Did you always want to be a business owner when you were a young girl? Or did this kind of come to you organically? And I'm excited for this because this is something we've talked about a lot, but this is one thing I don't think that I really know about your past, and I'm super excited to learn about it.
Yeah, so I had no intentions of being a business owner and entrepreneur. When I graduated from college, I was on the corporate track.
Yep.
And my plan, my first semester in college, I did something crazy like business systems and management or something. And my goal was to, work my way up in corporate and eventually transferred out of one college to a different college here in Minnesota. I'm kind of a Minnesota girl through and through. Love to travel, but love to come back to my roots, and really discovered this creative side of me that was always there. There.
Yeah.
But, you graduate from college and, ended up graduating with a business major and an art minor. And launched into my first corporate job. And man, I was on, in my mind, at all of 21 and a half, I was on the CMO corporate senior VP track, and I'm going to get there in 6 months,
Man, so you've always been super ambitious, even straight out of college. You were just in it to win it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and, we all know how unrealistic that was. And I ended up going through a really interesting review. And they basically said this, you really have very limited abilities with people. Your communication skills are lacking, and there's really no future for you at this company. And literally 2 or 3 days later, I was walked into HR and walked out. And
you are kidding me.
Yeah. In fact, I should burn it, but I saved that review because I tell this story as part of my story, and people kind of look at me
I'm
like,
shocked.
yeah, I mean, very similar to how you look
Yeah.
shocked now. But I tell people, and I don't mean to go down a rabbit trail, but I tell people, don't let anyone define who you are. Do the work. I
Love
clearly had
that.
some work to do, but do the work, but don't let that define you. And now, I own a branding and communications firm. Like, this is so, it was the
That
most
is so
devastating.
inspiring. Oh my gosh.
But it was hard. I was the breadwinner. My husband was going back to school for aviation. And,
Mhm.
I would remember taking these drives and just crying and bawling my eyes
Yeah.
out because what they said about me didn't feel true. But it
Oh,
forced me to do some digging and just introspection. And anyway, through this time, some friends of ours owned small businesses. They
yep.
owned transportation companies. So they owned like bus companies that would
Okay.
contract with schools. They owned a limo company. They were just these serial entrepreneurs, and I needed a job. And
Yep.
so I'm thinking, okay, I will take on this job because I'm the breadwinner. We need the money.
Yeah.
And then in a year or two, I'm going to go back and I'm going to be on my CMO role in a year after that, by the time I'm 25. So, so I ended, I had my bus license. I was driving a bus route. I was
You were
answering,
driving a
I
bus?
was driving a bus. I was driving a bus. It was the it
I
was
can
the
just see
most
you behind the wheel. Oh my gosh.
oh my
That's
gosh, it was so bad.
amazing.
I barely passed my bus test, as you can imagine. Here I am,
Oh
like
my gosh.
creative red hair Liz, and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I can get a bus license. Sure, why not?
It's
So,
amazing.
I mean, and they had me doing everything, running their limo company. So I was taking phone calls and customer service, and then I was cleaning
Mhm.
puke out of limos at 1 a.m.
Wow. Yep.
and the whole deal. And I was running payroll. And it was this very humbling experience, but it also was this experience where I was able to have this front row seat to their entrepreneurial lives.
Yes.
And I fell in love. It was
Mhm.
like, wow, this is what I'm made for,
What did
and
you love
just,
about it? What did you
you
love about what you
know,
saw?
well, the first thing is they lived and worked out of their home.
Yep.
And some of their companies were actually kind of right next door. And so I got to see, my experience had been getting up at 4 a.m., doing the grind and hustle to get my butt to corporate America,
Yep.
slogging it out for 10 hours, and then driving
Mhm.
home, making dinner, and slogging it again. And
Yep.
what I saw with them was this beautiful, messy life where kind
Yeah.
of life and business and work and family just kind of all comes together. And this was
Mhm.
20 years ago. So, there's a lot of information that's come out about integration of life and work or not, or around that. But at that time, and I still do for the most part very much carry this philosophy, is that, integration of life and work is sacred. And so I saw this, I had this front row seat to this. And even though I was doing all these really hard things, hard tasks, I was learning the beauty of this, and I was learning entrepreneurship. And, to this day, I understand payroll
Yep.
because of that experience.
Oh, I love
So,
that. I love that word integration because you hear so much people talk about work-life balance as if it's like these two
mhm.
separate things. But this idea of integrating both of them into your life, I just find so freeing almost. Takes the pressure off. And also
Yes.
by bringing like your family into it. Like I got some great advice from an executive coach about this because I love what I do. And I know you feel the same way. Really passionate about helping small businesses be successful. Like I wake up with just thrilled every morning. I'm like, I get to do
Mm.
this. I love this.
Mhm.
And I was telling my coach, I was like, sometimes I feel guilty because I just like to work. I just really enjoy it. I do. I put the kids down to bed and I don't watch TV. I just love to what can I work on in the business? I love working on the business.
Mhm.
And she was telling me like just love that. She's like bring your kids into it. Like talk to them about what you're doing. Let them be a part of your world so they can see what it is that you love, so then it's
Mhm.
not like this separate thing that mom does. It's like they're a part of it now. They get to see you in action and see and understand why you love it so much. So I love that word integration. I think,
Mhm.
like it's just such a good way to look at it as rather like these two separate animals.
Yeah, it just
So,
kind of brings a level of peace because
yeah.
you're not trying to figure out, okay, how do I do this work-life balance? Because
Yeah.
it's a misnomer, you know.
It
So
is.
I think the
And
question is, to what level of integration do I want to go? Right. And that's
oh,
different
yeah.
for everyone. And
That's so
so
true.
what I saw with this couple was complete integration. And
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it. And they they were actually the ones, the husband, he actually pulled me aside, and I tease him about this to this day. He basically said, you can go do this marketing work on your own. You've
Yeah.
done it for big companies. And he
Mhm.
said, I mean, if you feel like you absolutely want a job here still, you can, but you need to just go do this. And I said, yeah, you were firing
Wow.
me, Mike, weren't you? Of course he wasn't, but he said, go do it. And so
Oh,
what I
man.
would do is I worked for them during the day.
Mhm.
And then I would come home and I would work. Like Jeff and I would have dinner. This was before kids. We'd have dinner. And then like 6 to midnight, I would work on my business. And I called
Oh.
it Beaudry Creative, and I launched.
Uh-huh.
And I got a couple of large clients, just honestly being me and networking and helping people. And I
Yep.
got several. And that then led to me sending this, what was kind of a crazy letter on my own letterhead in the mail to the then owner of Envision. And Envision really represented just this amazing company that, gosh, I wonder if she needs a contractor helping with some of my skills and things
Yeah.
like that. So I just sent her this crazy letter thinking I'd never hear from her. And she sent me an email and said, can
You
we have
just
coffee?
sent her a letter. You never met her. You
I,
just heard of her
yeah,
company and just sent her a
yeah,
letter.
on my letterhead in the mail.
Oh my gosh, that is such moxie, Liz. And you know what's amazing about that is that she obviously was so, intrigued by your letter that she responded. Like, I would love to see this letter.
Oh, I should pull it up. I haven't looked at it in a
Oh my
while. That's a great
gosh.
idea. I'll pull that up. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so when I got that email, I was doing my happy dance, I don't have a
Yeah.
beat, but I was doing a happy dance. And, she just, within the first couple, she brought me on as a contractor, and I was doing a lot of, like, creative work, account management, and she just within a couple of months was, like, just started to talk about how she was getting tired, and she had been running the business for 15 years at that point, and am I
Wow.
interested in partnership? And
Uh-huh.
we couldn't really land on a place that worked for both of us, and so there was just about a year into these discussions, I did another kind of gutsy thing. I just took her out for coffee and I said, I think you want to pull back and I'm ready to step forward. And like, what if you sell me the company? I mean, it was really kind of looking back on it. I was 26 or something,
Oh
25
my
and at the
gosh. You
time.
know what I was doing at
And
26? Like, that's amazing.
I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, presumptuous
Yeah.
maybe was a word. And I think I even said that to her. I said, I don't want to be presumptuous, but this is just what I'm observing. And what do you think?
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting, and she loved the idea. And I ended up getting an SBA loan and
Mhm.
negotiating it and running cash flow and doing all the things you got to do to
Yep.
buy a business.
Yep.
And at 27, I walked out with the keys to this business in 2008, and then 2000 or 2007, then in 2008 everything crashed. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
there's a whole nother story around that. But
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So, and then you ended up purchasing MDNA later, correct? And
yeah,
add
so
so
mhm.
you've purchased multiple businesses. Man.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of forget about that, but a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So if you look back on your entrepreneurial journey, which is just, man, it's just so inspiring to think. Like when I was 25, I was literally like, when I came out of college, I was like you. I was like, I'm on the corporate route. I just want to go and be a successful businesswoman. And that was, but I wanted to work in-house. It was like no desire initially. But then my dad was a business owner. My grandfather owned a successful small business, and my great grandfather had. So from the time I was a little kid, I grew up watching my dad build his business. I worked at my grandfather's motel, which was right across the street from Disneyland, at the front desk. And I saw like the joy of people's faces when they'd come in the door. And I loved being a part of that. And I loved seeing like my grandfather create it. He was a part of creating that experience for them, like, so that like, it's kind of like, it was a really like seminal time where I realized like, I want to be part of like helping companies create like kind of that amazing customer experience. And I've always felt like I've had this like push, if you will, to honor that my family legacy in that way. So I think that's so interesting of how you came to be an entrepreneur. I'm so inspired by that. What would you say, like, if you look back over your history, like, I'm sure that you've had plenty of business blunders that we all do. Do you have like a story of one in particular that you're just like, man, I just really screwed this up? And how did it like change you? How did it transform you? How did it make your business? What did it do for your customers? Like, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So as I was thinking about this question, I was like, which one do I choose? It feels like so many, but there was
some of them probably you're not really comfortable sharing, right?
Oh, totally. And I'm thinking, how vulnerable am I going to be? I mean, honestly. So yeah, I could talk forever on blunders and all of that, but one that kind of stands out early on, as you know, branding and marketing work can be really intense, and
Yes.
it's very time based, right? It's very
Yes.
much me or my team showing up. And at that time I was billing everything by the hour. I've totally changed my model on that now. And so I had this bright idea that I want to sell a product, because a
Okay.
product you produce and then it's not tied to me
Your
writing a
time.
newsletter
Yes.
or designing something or, managing or whatever. So I decided that we were going to do cards.
Okay.
Like note cards.
Uh-huh.
And we weren't just going to do note cards. We were going to do note cards for law firms.
Oh, so you're very niche. You
Yeah,
clearly
exactly.
defined audience. Yep.
Oh
Okay, I like
gosh.
it.
I was so proud of myself. I'm like, I've picked a niche. I have picked a product. I am on my way, So I had a team. There was I had about 5 employees then.
Uh-huh.
Obviously had a very talented designer on my team.
Yeah.
And so I said, let's do it. Let's build a product line. And Nicole,
what did you call it? Was it Beaudry
yeah,
Creative?
no, it was called Cards by Envision. So this was
All
after
right.
I'd bought Envision.
Yep.
And I'd been running it for a year or two, and
Yep.
so Cards by Envision, and had developed a website. This was when print was still really heavy. So we designed this beautiful newsletter. I had business cards made. We
Wow.
designed these cards. They started out as like holiday cards for law firms. Mind you, I never talked to a law firm. Like, I mean, this is true vulnerability here, right? I mean, what was I thinking? A question around like, do you even want to send a holiday card as a law firm would have been really, really helpful.
Yeah, even to talk to one law firm.
Yeah, oh no. Law firms. I'm just going to niche in law firms. It sounds great. Who cares what they need? They're going to need that. They're going to want this when they see this amazing design coming off the presses.
Right.
Right.
If you build it, they will come. Isn't that like the worst phrase ever? Whoever came up with that, like seriously.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So we spent, and I would say probably between so it was letterpress. So I'm not going to run a CMYK, cheap printing. Like we're going letterpress. And if the letterpress is out of state, all the better, I mean, seriously.
You went all in, Liz. You went all in.
125% in. And I'm so proud of myself. I've got a product that I'm niching to law firms. Never mind that I have no idea if they even want letterpress cards printed out of state.
Yeah.
So I ran the first batch, and they're beautiful. I mean, I was looking for something at my parents' house the other day, and I came across these cards. My mom, she's like my biggest fan, and
Yeah.
she has saved these cards, and I'm like, bless her. But holy cow. So I ran a run of these cards, and then I call my first law firm. And we're probably, between printing, designer time, my time, we're probably, I think I ran the numbers in the $15,000 to $20,000 range.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. Yep.
And so, then I called 5 or 10 law firms, and they just weren't interested. It was like, well, we do e-newsletters now, and people don't really open their mail anymore. And,
Oh my
so I
gosh.
start to get this sense, oh, I developed this great product, but there's no need for this great product. So I then went to all the little retail shops within this.
Yeah.
Envision was located in St. Peter, Minnesota. I went to all the retail shops, and there was one woman, lovely, lovely business owner, and she let me put these cards up for sale, right? And so I bunched
nice.
them into
Yeah.
like bunches of 10 for 10 cents or something crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And those didn't even sell.
Well, way to be scrappy and try to be resourceful about it, right?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was trying to offload them on a friend who had a very successful Etsy store. I'm like, please, I will pay you to sell them. So she was, out of her generosity, trying to sell them on Etsy. She made this cross-country move, and literally her husband is like hauling these cards into the U-Haul. And I'm like, Amelie, please just go to your recycle bin and just dump them, Oh my gosh, it was so bad. I don't think I sold one card. I didn't sell one card. And one of the things, I know one of your questions is like, what did you learn? Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like Envision was successful doing service-based branding and design, and companies paid and do pay to this day top dollar for that,
Yes.
and like, it's like I learned to stay in my lane and make peace with that. And, there's obviously times for businesses to pivot and all of that, but, I just really learned a lot about just make money where you're making money and build on that and stay in your lane.
That's really such good advice, because I think as business owners, we are always trying to like make sure, like, I feel like this. Am I being relevant? Am I really offering the services that are going to be the future of marketing, right? Like I feel like every day before I go to bed, I'm like, are my services going to be relevant in like 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Like I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure I'm being innovative and creative and addressing all of that. But you're right. Like, you really, if you stick, the more you stick to the core services of what you do and you just go with it, you're just going to get better and more efficient at it. And that's where you're going to really continue to position yourself as an expert. And if you try to spread yourself out and try to tackle too much or switch, gears too frequently, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. The other thing I love about that story is like, and I think you said it, is like, you weren't really taught, like, you didn't really do any like market research first to see if there was actually a need, and that kind of goes to like one of my questions too, is about marketing your businesses. And this, I see this all the time with clients, is that they want to jump right to the tactics. They want to jump right in and say, okay, we need to do social media, we need to run Facebook ads, but they don't really take the time to step back and really understand, like, who is my customer? Do they really need this? And have the customer design the product with you rather than designing it for them without even consulting them, So I think that's huge.
So
I got to see these cards, by the way. I got to see them.
I'll send you one in the mail.
Please. I bet they're beautiful, just knowing you, because you have such a sophisticated, elegant design style. I'm sure that they're stunning. I'm shocked that you didn't sell any. Shocked.
Well, thank you. They are beautiful. I do have to admit they are beautiful, but no one wanted them. So,
what can you say?
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if you tried it today, if it'd be different, because I feel like there's kind of like this retro movement happening where people are kind of like wanting to have that more like personal, handwritten card thing. Everything's so digital now. Like, I think there's like this push to kind of take it back.
Yeah, and I think I honestly could have been successful if I would have like opened my own Etsy store and
Oh,
really,
okay.
sold it. But that would have required an entire
Yes.
shift, right? I
Yep.
mean, selling on Etsy a product is an entirely different business model. And so that's just where I really had to just cut. And I think this was another thing too, is I didn't cut soon enough. Like the
Oh, okay.
what do they call it? Like sunken costs, right?
Yeah.
Is you're going
Yeah.
down this route on a project. And I've fallen into this so many times. And you think, well, it's going to get better just around the corner. I'm just going to put another X number of dollars into it, and then it's going to turn the corner or whatever. Versus having the courage as a leader to just say, we're just stopping,
Yep.
cut the presses, like just what's it going to take to just wrap this project, drop
Mhm.
it, no more money spent, and I think that if I would have known that, I would have probably stopped the process a lot sooner than trying to get my friend to sell on Etsy.
Well, what were some of the red flags that you missed earlier that would have been like, okay, I should stop this now? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, what was the
I
first red flag?
honestly, I mean, I laugh about it, but the first call to the law firm when I said, I have these beautiful cards. Are you interested? And, she was very kind, but she just said, no, we're sending out an
Yeah.
email this year.
Yep.
And I think that those messages happen all the time for us in business. And there's such a belief or a culture, a grind and hustle and stick with it. And,
Yes.
that we just think, well, someone said no one call. Well, I'm going to make 99 more calls. And I do think, I
Mm.
mean, sometimes you just can't give up, right? There is that level of business. And I think
Yep.
one of the reasons I am in business is because I just have not given up.
Yep.
But I think that there's these messages that come at us all the time on the kind of this first pass, right? And if I would have
Mm.
just paused and checked in with my gut on, is what she's saying true? I think I would have been able to say, wow, I think I created a product that's not wanted, not needed,
Yeah.
and just cut my losses.
That sunk cost thing's so huge too. Even like when you think about like employees or vendors, for example,
Mhm.
sometimes you're like,
Mhm.
well, if I just give it I just need to give them this feedback and it'll get better. And then it
Absolutely.
doesn't get better. And you can usually identify those red flags pretty early in the partnership or in the relationship, you know?
Absolutely.
But I'm the same way. I
Absolutely.
tend to be like very trusting by nature. And so sometimes I have to watch that and be like, well, you know, you got to pay attention to those red flags when they come.
Absolutely. I mean,
And
that's a
address
whole
them.
nother team build, building my
Yeah.
team. I've made so many blunders with that. Ed King, the creator of
Yeah.
MDNA, he talks about hire slow, fire fast, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's so true. But I'm like you. Well, this person has so much potential, or, maybe
Yep.
they're having a bad day, or,
Yep.
whatever it is. And most times, I think when you're intuitive like we are, we kind of know ahead of time, but
Yep.
our brain starts to reason and say, well, that can't really be true, right?
Right? Or we just give people the benefit of the doubt, like
Yeah,
we wanna
absolutely.
believe the best in people. I see that in you. I'm the same way. I wanna be positive and believe the best in people? So, but yeah, you have
Yes.
to in business, you're running a business and you have to be fierce about it? You
Yes.
do. Like you're not here to serve. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, we're here to serve our clients, and you gotta have the right
Absolutely.
team in place to do it. So, man, this is awesome. Okay, so I do have a question for you about just how you've marketed your business. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about
Mhm.
that. What are some
Yeah.
of the things that when it comes to marketing your own business, what are some of the things that have worked and not worked? And like if you were to advise someone who was a small business trying to market themselves, what would you advise them to do?
hmm Yeah, so first I've tried everything. So
I can see you
And
cold calling. I can see you
oh
hitting the
my
street.
gosh, so bad. I mean, Facebook,
Mhm.
LinkedIn, lead gen,
Yep.
newsletters. I mean, I wrote down everything. It was kind of a history lesson, and what works at the end of the day for me personally is relationship building and referrals
Yes.
and just authentically being me on social media. Now, for me, it's actually I gravitate more towards Facebook than even
Uh-huh.
LinkedIn. So my philosophy from early on with Facebook was I'm just going to be me, and
Yep.
I'm going to have friends that are clients, vendors,
Yep.
colleagues, high school. Like I just wanted to be me regardless. So
Mhm.
if I'm posting something that a client can't see, then I shouldn't be posting it, was kind of my philosophy.
Yeah.
So I've actually gotten some business just doing that, right? So the biggest thing, and I tell clients this all the time, and I know Nicole, you said this to me at one point too, because I was thinking about, I've done some LinkedIn work, but I was
Mhm.
thinking about getting back into it. And so I was just asking you about it. And your answer was just, I'm like, her brain is just so wicked smart. No wonder I love working with her. She said, and it was so simple, but it was so powerful. You said to me, well, what are your goals? Essentially you were saying to
Mhm.
me, know your why,
Yeah.
know your purpose, know where you're moving and
Yeah.
back into it from there. And I tell clients, choose one or two things. You do not have to do
Yes.
everything to be successful. I
Agree.
heard this story. I need to find it again, but there was this gentleman who had built a multi-million dollar business, like even could have been
Mhm.
tens of millions of dollars on an email list that was less than 1,000 people.
Wow. Oh
And
my gosh.
I mean that I get goosebumps just like that's so powerful, right? Because
Yeah.
what does the business culture tell us? Get to a lot of followers on
Yep.
social media, have this massive email list, and
Mhm.
then you will build your business. And it's simply not true.
Totally
Um,
agree.
and so I think the biggest thing is really, you said it so beautifully, Liz. What are your goals?
Yeah.
Start there and then just be very selective. And I'm talking SMBs, right?
Right.
Companies that have big, massive marketing budgets and are working with tens of thousands of employees. This is way different, but I'm talking about
Correct.
like the companies that me and you work with.
Yes.
SMBs who are really good at what they do, but really not good at marketing.
Yep.
And it's almost like they need this breath of fresh air to say, you don't have to do 25 things. You don't have to be on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all these things. Let's just start with your vision, your why. Why are
Yes.
you doing this? What are your goals? And how can we use, and from my, the work that I do is a lot around brand culture. So how can we build up your team and your brand? And
Yes.
where is that message going to be most resonated? And it may be we just focus on LinkedIn for the next 18
Mhm.
months.
Yeah.
And,
I love that so much. It's so I mean, I've experienced that myself, like really try to understand your goal, knowing your goals first and foremost, because that depends on how, like if your goal is that you really just want to scale quickly and you want to, you have these huge audacious goals, then how you're going to reach them is going to be completely different than if your goal is just, I just want this lifestyle business. I'd like to bring in a couple of new customers, you know,
yes,
whatever the case may be. So like
absolutely.
just knowing like what it is that you want, where you want to go can help you determine like how much you should be investing in it and who you're reaching, who is it that you're trying to target and all of that. So that's really great advice. And going and really focusing in on just a few core channels is so critical because marketing is becoming so much more complex over time. There's so many more new channels that are being implemented. And so it can be really overwhelming for small businesses to navigate that. So really like identifying who your target audience is and just focusing in on the few channels and learning those really well and just kind of like stepping it out that way. I mean, that's what I've seen work for my business. I just really like a year ago, I was like really intentional about LinkedIn. I
Mhm.
set a goal. I was like, my goal this I had set some goals of how many new clients I wanted to bring in and that I wanted to start building relationships. And I set a goal. You're going to die when you hear this. I had never done any podcast, live event, anything before January of last year for my business, like in this industry.
Mhm.
And I made a goal. It's like, I just want to do one live event this year. I just want to be a guest on one show and share what I've learned and share what I know. And I can't even believe it. Like, I can't even count how many like events I did last year. And now I'm doing this podcast, just like,
I
and it
love
all
it.
came from the relationships that I built when I was really intentional about networking on through LinkedIn. Like the minute I
Mhm.
decided and got really intentional about it and really consistently made an effort is what really kind of made the shift happen, and it was terrifying. I was terrified. You just you have to go into it scared wherever, you got to do it. Got to do it scared, Liz. It's never going to be.
I know, and I do have to say, like, you are one of my favorite people to follow on LinkedIn because you just have this beautiful way of integrating heart into the content, and
Oh,
I
that's
think
so kind.
that's something that's missing in LinkedIn, just, my
Yeah.
opinion, but,
Yeah.
so you have been from my perspective, like, from a brand perspective, you have done so well in LinkedIn, and it started with your goals, right? So how
Yep.
many clients do I want to have and
Yep.
where are they hanging out? And then how
Exactly.
do I bring my authentic self to the table and just show up there? And so
Yeah.
honestly, I go out to LinkedIn sometimes just to read your stuff.
Oh
I'm
my gosh.
it's great.
Liz.
I love it.
That's like that warms my heart. That means so much to
Mhm.
me. I appreciate that so much. Sometimes I'm like sitting there like, should I send this? I don't know. Is it too authentic? Sometimes I think that like maybe this is too vulnerable, but it's me,
I've enjoyed
you
it.
know?
I've
Like it's
enjoyed
just
it.
who I am. I feel like and I think that's another important part of it as a business today. It's so critical that you build your personal brand. Like you
Mhm.
have to be able to people want to connect with people, and I think that's going to become even more and more important for brands in the future is like they need to show their authenticity, whatever that is,
Yes.
on those forums, in order for them to really resonate and connect with buyers.
And
So
people
that's
are smart, they can kind
yeah.
of cut through when there's BS in
Yes.
social.
So
People's
true.
BS meter is higher than ever, and it should be,
Yeah.
it should be. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been such a fun conversation. It's supposed to be 30 minutes and we've like totally gone over. I
I
feel
know, surprise, surprise, right?
I could keep talking to you forever. So like I guess my last final question for you is, and this is more of a personal question, just like if you could like have your your ideal day,
Mm,
what would you be doing? Who would you be doing it with? Like paint a picture. What would like the ideal day
mm,
be like for Liz? What would be
mm.
just the perfect day for you? And we can end on that. We can all dream of being there with you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, with my husband being a pilot, we travel a fair amount
Mhm.
and have really built my business to be able to step into that lifestyle, right? And so,
Yeah.
an ideal day is really just like that integration piece that we
Yeah.
talked about, kind of bringing things full circle, is doing some work and serving clients and interacting with my team and brainstorming with them. And then maybe it's getting on some calls, and I've been launching a little bit more into real estate and some of the creative sides on that. And so
Ooh,
playing a little in that area, you
fun.
know, and then
Yeah.
going out and going for walks with my family and maybe
Mhm.
coming back then again and doing some more work. And so this just kind of beautiful interplay of work
Mm.
and life and really owning, we've worked really hard to get to this point from just even Jeff's career and his side of things, and to just really be able to own that and say, we've worked for this, we've worked hard for
Yes.
this, and this gives us the ability to jet set,
Yes.
around. And I've set up the business so I can continue to serve clients and my team, how I've built, I mean, everything, right? And so to just, I'm learning how to celebrate that and to
Mm.
really fully walk into that. So I'm going to be doing more traveling and more of that, and more talking with my kids about the business and what do they think. And So I have to tell you, I have to end with this story. You'll love this.
Ooh, I love it.
So
Let's do it.
I have 2 boys, 12 and 15, and they were born in South Korea. We adopted them when they were each a year, and they're my kids, my boys, and they say they're wicked smart. And, they'll say things, and I just think, how did you even think through this? So there was a day particularly that I was having a really hard day. And, you don't realize how much some of this sinks in with your kids or how much they're observing when you work from home. And so I came up and I was talking to my 12-year-old, and he says, Mom, and he's kind of witty, a little sarcastic. He's got kind of all this going in his 12-year-old self. And he says, Mom, I have 3 words for you. And I said, what's that, bud? He said, hire a CEO. And I just paused, and I'm thinking, this kid is brilliant.
He's going places.
He pretty much gave me my strategic plan, So
they say the darndest things, don't they?
I know. So I think anyway, back to your question, it's just kind of this beautiful integration piece between both.
Oh, I love that. What a way to end this beautiful episode. I love it so much. Well, Liz, where can people find you if they want to reach you and get to experience your amazingness that I get to experience all the time? Because it's wonderful. Where can people find you to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Facebook, I talked about Facebook. So if it's just Liz Zurek-Beaudry, you can find me out there. Envision's website is thinkenvision.com, THINK, E as in elephant, NVISION.com. And there's a way to connect with me out there too, if they want to email or whatever. But yeah, I would love to hear from people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show, Liz. It's such an honor. I wish we could just talk all day. It would be like,
me too.
Like being with you is like being under like a big fluffy warm blanket by the fire with a big cup of like herbal tea and a good book. It is just like
I love
central.
that.
And I
love it.
Can't tell you how much I love the work that you're doing, and just what an incredible inspiration that you are to me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get all teary-eyed. I'm just so grateful for your friendship and your partnership. And it is just such an honor that I got to meet you last year, and to find you and work with you has just been a blessing in my life. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you. The feeling is mutual. So this has been so fun. It's been so fun to tell stories and laugh. And so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Let's do a little dance to end our day.
Even though I don't have a beat.
Thanks so much, Liz.
Tales of Misadventure is produced, edited, and moderated by Julie Basello with Basello Media. Music by Marcus Way. Special thanks to our amazing guests and the entire DMG Digital team. Visit us at dmgdigital.io to get access to all our podcast interviews and other helpful resources. And if you'd like to get updates on the latest and greatest, please sign up for our email newsletter. We'll see you next time for another episode of Tales of Misadventure. Until then, keep falling forward.